Thank you for joining Market Insights. I'm Jack Thurman, president of BKD Wealth Advisors. The roles of retirement plan fiduciaries are sometimes difficult to understand, but understanding these key roles is becoming an increasingly important task with increased regulations. Today, I've asked Steve Toomey, our firm-wide leader for our benefit plan consulting division, to address some of the common questions we are receiving from our clients. Steve, who is a retirement plan fiduciary?
Generally speaking, it's anyone who has the authority or the discretion over the administration of the plan, the selection of the investments for the plan, or hiring outside providers to work with the plan. And this could include the business owner. It would include maybe a member of the board. It could also include the head of HR. And interestingly enough, it could include a rank and file employee who has volunteered to be on the investment committee, and by doing so has now exposed themselves to liability as much in the same manner as the business owner has.
Talk about the responsibilities of fiduciary. What are those, basically?
Well, generally speaking, you need to understand what the statutes under ERISA say about being a fiduciary. You need to understand the plan document. And you also need to make sure you operate in the sole interest of plan participants and beneficiaries. You need to certainly make sure the investments are properly diversified. And then finally, make sure the costs are reasonable, which all sounds pretty simple, but in practice, it's hard to put in place.
Talk about the critical nature of knowing these responsibilities. Why is it so important to know what you're supposed to be doing?
Sure. Well, the Department of Labor over the last couple of years has significantly increased its focus on benefit plan oversight. And they're particularly concerned that participants have every opportunity to have a successful retirement outcome. And what this has done is certainly increased the scrutiny on the fiduciaries. And whether a fiduciary knows or doesn't know that they're currently committing some kind of violation, they're going to be held potentially responsible and could have significant fines.
So talk about how do they fulfill it, some basic steps in fulfilling their responsibilities as a fiduciary.
Well, I think the first thing is really understand ERISA and know what your responsibilities are. Know your plan document and follow it. Hire prudent experts, whether that is an investment consultant that comes in who is going to become a co-fiduciary with you, which is always a great idea. They also need to put a process in place for the investment selection and monitoring, and most plan sponsors don't have that today. So creating an investment policy statement is always a great idea as well. And then finally, most plan sponsors don't know what their expenses are. And if they don't know what they are, they can't know whether or not they're reasonable, and both of those are requirements from the Department of Labor. So I'd suggest when they're working with prudent experts, make sure they're working with experts who are objective in their decision making and 100% transparent in the fees that they're charging. And then every year, benchmark your fees through an independent third party. That way you know whether or not they're reasonable.
Talk about the questions. There's lots of information, data, terms, so on and so forth. What are the questions that a sponsor or a plan fiduciary should be asking?
Yeah, and there's a lot of questions, so I'm going to throw out just a few that we'd love to see an affirmative answer to each of these. And that would give us, I guess, a better perception that the fiduciary is on the right track. So the first thing I would ask is, do I really understand my responsibilities under ERISA? Secondly, I'm going to ask, am I comfortable being a prudent expert? And if I'm not, I should be hiring prudent experts. I want to know, are the decisions I'm making prudent, and can I prove those through the documentation that I have? And then regarding the expenses, I want to know both the indirect and the direct expenses, so I know what the total expenses are that I'm paying, and I want to know who's receiving those commissions, if you will, and are they reasonable?
This has been very informative. Thanks, Steve. As market events and regulations change, which impact our clients and raise common questions, we will continue to provide these informational broadcasts. For more information about BKD Wealth Advisors, we invite you to visit our website at bkdwealthadvisors.com. Thank you for joining us today.